Hello, and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. If this is your first time here, the We Are Power podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As We Are Power is the umbrella brand to Northern Empowerment Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and We Are Power. Well, hello. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Hannah McLean, who is the Information Security Officer at Manchester United, currently on maternity leave, though.
Indeed, yeah.
Now, probably not a place I'd normally start, but we always love a bit of a fun fact, right? So I've got to ask, your family once auditioned for Gogglebox, which I've really got into. I don't watch a lot of telly, but I've become a bit, the brother-sister from Blackpool, I love them. Anyway, aside from that, tell us about that. What happened? Would you do it again?
Oh, 100%. In fact, the only reason that we didn't really pursue it, we actually got quite far, was that my dad got really concerned about the fame changing him, and he was like, Hannah, we're going to end up with our own talk show. We're going to it's all going to get to our heads, and I'm just not ready for that. And I was like, Dad, it's fine. We're not going to be that big cheese. It's going to be okay. But yeah, it was, we did all right. Yeah, one of our friends was who's sort of a producer for it, put us in touch and just enjoyed our dynamic. And yeah, we could, you never know, I could have been having my own talk show.
There's still time though, you know?
Exactly.
Never say never, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I love that. Gogglebox, fantastic. So for people who might not know and might not associate, what does your role as Information Security Officer at Man United look like?
Yeah.
Because you're not kicking a ball, right?
No, 100% not. So my role in a nutshell is everything cybersecurity. So that is across protecting our network data and systems across our stadium operations, e-commerce, our players and our academy players as well, so our youth players. So yeah, it involves everything that you might associate with the football club in terms of protecting us from outside threats. And yeah.
And we always talk on the pod about there never being kind of one straight line in anyone's career.
Yeah.
How did you find, because careers guidance is quite challenging. And I know we talk a lot about STEM. The world talks a lot about STEM out there. But how did you find your route into cyber?
Yeah, so it's not the traditional computer science route, which a lot of people think that's what you need to work in cybersecurity. I did a history degree. Never. In fact,
I can't see the connect there.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, probably not a very tech-minded individual. Graduated, I didn't know what I was going to do. Everyone was sort of applying for graduate schemes, and I started doing business development at KPMG. And it was at the time when there was a lot of cyber was a massive growth area in the business, and GDPR was coming in, a lot of compliance legislation around cybersecurity, and I moved into that, sort of tapped the partner's shoulder and was like, please give me a job. And then moved into that, and then moved into the more tech space, doing loads of projects around cyber maturity, how businesses can implement technologies, and then sort of got approached for the Manchester United role and sort of went from there, really. So yeah, not from a tech background at all, actually.
And what do you love most about the role?
It's just so interesting and ever-changing. It's never, no 2 days are the same. There's always new threats, there's new technologies, new problems we have to solve. So it's actually more, it's less tech focused and actually more problem solving, which I don't think everybody realises that. So yeah, I love it. I really do.
I think that's one of the opportunities, isn't it? That, you are a role model because you're on our Northern Empowerment Awards future list. And once you're on it, Hannah, you're always on it. In the gang, wearing the badge,
Yeah.
Always wear the badge. But how would you describe that to your younger self? Because I think, if you've got people out there thinking, God, I don't know what I want to do, but maybe your path going to do history because, how would you describe it to someone who's like thinking of that? You talked about it being problem solving.
Yeah, and it is kind of that. When you break it down, I think a lot of people think, God, if I'm going to go into cybersecurity, I'm going to be a hacker or a hacker / pen tester. So I'll be skulking around in comms rooms with black hoodies and have that sort of
skulking. That's the word.
Skulking, sort of have that persona, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And in fact, like, the field is so vast that there's technical roles and non-technical roles, and it actually is just problem solving. Whether it's a business trying to implement a new technology, whether someone has hacked us and we need to defend against them, all of it is like very dynamic and like being responsive to things. So yeah, it really is like problem solving
and superhero mixed into one, right?
And
you are a protector and defender.
Exactly. But yeah, no, it's great. And the other thing as well is I think a lot of people don't realise is it's communication, whether that be you're working with like non-technical audiences and sort of digesting that technical information and sort of displaying it back to those audiences, or very persuasive. So you might be trying to convince teams or leadership to implement certain things or protective measures. So a lot of it is actually about negotiation and communication, which again, I don't think many people realise that. They think it's just all about people in black hoodies skulking around in comms rooms, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
And you're also working in the world of football, which is obviously a massive global industry, obviously massive in the north of England as well. So it must come with great opportunities, but also maybe some challenges along the way.
Yeah.
What have you learnt most about the industry, and what have you enjoyed most?
I think with football in particular, I think what people might think when they're like, oh, you do cybersecurity at a football club, is that, oh, it's just 11 lads kicking a ball around on Saturday, that kind of situation. And it's not really much more than that. What have you got to defend against? And actually, we have 70,000 people who come to our stadium. If the turnstiles go down, that becomes a health and safety incident very quickly. If e-commerce goes down, we lose revenue. If we are buying new players and they send the payments to the wrong place, that's a massive problem from share prices. So actually, I think a lot of people think we're not targeted by many threats. Actually, we're targeted by so many threats, and actually, that role itself is quite hard to defend against, because how do you prioritize your time? So yeah, it's definitely more eye-opening than anything. Because it's such a big brand, we attract so much good attention and bad attention. So yeah, it's been a learning curve for sure.
And are you a football fan?
I am a football fan. So I'm living my dad's dream, because he is a die-hard United fan, and he had the MUFC tattoo on his forearm not so long ago.
Actor, talk show, footballer, dad.
Yeah, 100%. And then I've started playing whilst working at United, playing football with the lads on a Wednesday. So I've got actually into it myself.
Oh, wow. Oh, so and was that something you might have pursued, or was this one of the opportunities that it's given?
One of the opportunities. I don't think I would have pursued it otherwise.
And you've also led a massive cyber transformation project, haven't you, since you've been there? That must have been a great opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. So I was sort of brought in after we'd suffered a massive breach, and we were sort of implementing a big cyber transformation program to sort of bring in new technologies, particularly around like how we detect threats. So people are trying to hack us. And yeah, it's been a busy couple of years for sure, and it's great. It's gone from strength to strength. So yeah, really pleased with the work we've done there.
And you do work in two quite male-dominated industries. Obviously, we know the rise of women's sport is pretty phenomenal and has been phenomenal over the last decade, really. But you talk about football and cybersecurity. Sometimes, God help us, we talk about, there's a lot of talk about pink and blue jobs out there, but sometimes that doesn't necessarily fit, does it? What do you think each world could learn from each other? Football from cyber and cyber from football?
Oh, I think a couple of things really around how with football, obviously there's a lot of like team focus, performance driven. And actually, that does tend to translate in cybersecurity. So, for example, like I mentioned, cybersecurity is problem solving. I say to my teams all the time, I don't expect you to know the answer, but I expect you to be able to find the answer. And actually, you do need that team mentality, and also like from a network perspective, like knowing who you can reach out to find the answer, to support each other, because actually, you actually aren't going to achieve a decent cybersecurity posture like working alone. So there's definitely things you can sort of like learn that way. And then vice versa from like, how could cybersecurity influence the football team right now? I mean, I don't know. I think, I actually don't know, to be fair.
No, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
That is a tricky one, to be fair.
I'm an Evertonian. I'm sure we can learn lots from any kind of sector transfer of knowledge.
Yes, 100%.
As you're sort of like navigating on your career adventure, is there been any point so far along the line where you've kind of had to go, I've had to back myself on that a little bit and really think, God, this is something like really interesting that's come up, but I've gone, you know what, I can do this. And have you kind of really backed yourself in that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, going for the role at Manchester United, I was at a time in my career, I was approached for the role, but I remember saying to my husband, I was like, I'd love that job, but I don't think I'm ready for that job. And I was like, but nothing bad can come from that interview process. I'll either find out, get the feedback that I need to grow and improve to then get that role a couple of years down the line. And then I was like, no, just go for it. Like, see, and then kept going through the process. And I was like, wow, I think I might get this. So I just think sometimes you've just got to go for it, really. And I do think sometimes women do sort of like tread with carefully and think, oh, am I ready? Is this right? And actually, you just need to go for it and just find out.
And have you had role models along the way or mentors?
Yes, I've had a couple. And look in various different sort of how they look and feel, really. I think my first ever mentor was my first boss. Like, he's called Dave Crowther, and Rob Crowther, and he supported me in moving into cyber. And I remember, like, in meetings, he'd like nudge me under the table, like, say something, and I'm like, okay. And it's just, I think having that supportive like backing is like so amazing, especially when you're so early on in your career and finding yourself. It was really powerful. So yeah, a big shout out to him, to be fair.
And you're a big advocate now as well, having had an advocate and having to have advocates around you, because it's really important. You're a massive kind of advocate for women in tech, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Because it is so many different million roles. It's not just one role, is it, for all? Not every woman in tech is the same, right?
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you think could really make a difference now? Have you had that magic wand in the industry or the sector?
So I very much think it starts from like education and awareness. I think that when I think back to like my education and what we were learning about from a technology standpoint, it was so basic and it doesn't reflect the workplace. That we've got in the field of tech alone, you've got app development, engineers, data science, blah, blah, blah. But I was sat in an IT thingy learning how to do PowerPoint presentations, and it just didn't reflect the world of work. And I think that's a massive point in encouraging both women and men into the industry, but also understanding when people think about cybersecurity, it isn't always technical roles. The industry is so vast. You can do non-technical and technical roles within there. And I think if people knew that, they probably wouldn't feel so scared about the barrier to entry. Oh God, I need a computer science degree, therefore I can't do it. And that's just not the case. Yeah. That's what I would definitely sort of wave my magic wand to find out.
Love a magic wand.
Yeah,
Wish we all had a magic wand. Now, you were doing a Man United Football Club project, weren't you? And you wrote a letter to your 15-year-old self, which was very inspiring to hear. What did that feel like? Was that quite sort of cathartic to write that? Yeah,
100%. It was quite emotional, actually. It was really just... Oh God, it took me back to that place of like, where I feel like I had so much ambition and so much like hope, but I didn't know how to like achieve it. It felt very intangible. So like sort of reflecting back and be like, it'll be okay. That was like, yeah, it's quite emotional actually. And then obviously sitting down and recording it, you're just like, oh, I've like right where I thought I was going to be, and that's a really nice feeling. So yeah, it was good.
And you're a new mum.
I am indeed.
7 months.
Yes.
What have you learnt most? We need a list.
We need
not enough hours not enough sleep in the day.
Oh, I think just an appreciation. One for like stay-at-home mums, because admittedly, I had that naive view that I'd be like, I'm going on mat leave. What am I going to do all day? Like, I can do shopping. I can like, I'm going to do. So I had this in my head. I'm going to learn Italian. I'm going to do so many exams, and I've like. Poor my husband coming home and being like, I've not had an hour to myself or showered. But yeah, I think it's just that one, that your heart can expand to places it's never been, but also you can be challenged in ways you never thought before. So I think I'm definitely a more rounded individual. And I feel like I've now accessed, like now I'm in the mum club and I see other mums and I'm like, why did nobody tell me about this? So yeah, it feels, it's nice. It's amazing. I love it so much.
And what do you hope the future will look like for your daughter? What's her name?
Florence.
Oh, beautiful.
Little Flo, yeah. So for her, oh God, where do I start? I mean, I think it's such a key time at the moment in terms of the narrative around like women's rights going forward. And I just think that I hope that she has the freedom, the agency to go and make the changes that she wants. And, you know, I actually feel more strongly than ever about, women's rights and sort of supporting women and leveling up and things like that, because I want that for her. I feel like I'm doing it on her behalf. So yeah, that's what I hope for.
Is it because there's a challenging world out there at the moment?
100%.
You know, there's certain parts of the world where you just think, gosh, are we going back? You feel like sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 10 back at times.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you've got to keep, like, for me, you know, in the world that I work in, you've got to like sort of be a bit of a change maker and just keep pushing on, because otherwise, like, the more you're able to break the barriers or challenge the stereotypes, the more it becomes the accepted norm. And yeah, I just hope that it'll all be all right.
I think we've got to have hope, because sometimes you can't look at the news or you can't scroll too much, because it can be a little bit like,
oh, I know, it's so depressing. And that is another aspect of like my role in like cybersecurity, is that like a lot of like online safety and how things are purported on social media and presented. I don't think people are necessarily aware around, you know, misinformation, challenging sources of information, of where they're getting them from, and being safe online. You know, when you put something out there, it is there forever, and protecting yourselves and your identities. It's just a huge topic, especially for like young individuals these days.
I was interviewed where the wonderful Ella Grace and her mum on the podcast a few weeks ago, and you know, she talked about her friendship group, and she's in her very early 20s, and you know, she talked about it's like 70% of her friendship group would prefer not to have a phone.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy. You know, considering we have this computer now system, don't we? It's no longer maybe this is my age group, there were no phones, or there was big bricks, but now we have a mobile computer at our hands. And I'm conflicted by that, because we want the ease of access of information, don't we? We want that knowledge and be able to give or gain. But I found that quite sort of it distracted me, really, because I'm like, wow, how would we live?
No, 100%. And I think as well, like how, like you say, it can be such an enabler, the information you've got, even from a safety standpoint. I can see as a parent, you're like, well, I know where they are, I know what they're doing. But like, I think even parents understanding different social media platforms, how they all interact, and how people, how they can be used it's just a whole new world. And like, I think also back to the days like where we didn't have phones with us all the time. You know, if something bad happened at school, like you'd get a break for it at home. But whereas now it's on your phone, you're on Snapchat, So it's like, yeah, it's a scary time for sure.
And you're going back from mat leave in a few weeks' time, aren't you? What are you excited about?
I'm excited for adult conversations. No, I am.
Can't practice any Italian though, can you?
No Italian has been learned. In fact, I've gone backwards in English. So I'm hoping to be able to string a sentence together. I'm really excited to just like crack on again. Like I do have bounds of energy and positivity, particularly about what we do at United. So I am really excited to get stuck back into it. And yeah, it's a bit apprehensive of how I'm going to manage everything, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it.
And is there like a quotation or a mantra that you live by? Is there a favourite one out there?
It's not. I wouldn't say it's probably a famous mantra, but someone once said to me, and it's a Yorkshire term, "Shy barns get now," and it's like if you don't ask, you don't get. And actually, at a lot of key points in my career, I just hear that ringing in my ear, which is "Shy barns get now." So if you don't ask, you don't get, and it served to be quite true. You know, just go for it. Like, what is the harm in not doing something? And often the positive outweighs the negative. So yeah.
And the awards this year, Northern Power Women Awards, we're about to open for nominations again. Now, we always have to do some corralling around the nominations because, as you know, you get nominated and then you have to fill in some of those questions, and they're often pushed to the side because you're busy. Well, actually, probably at the time you were just about giving birth, potentially, actually, when that was coming in. So it's a fair call. What would you say out there to anyone who is either considering self-nominating or nominating someone else? There is an importance around nominations and celebrating and recognising those achievements. That's why we created it. You've got to agree with me now because I didn't really give you an opportunity to say no there. But but why is that recognition so important? And why would you encourage people to kind of engage with the nominations?
I think for me personally, I've never been nominated for an award. This is my first time doing a podcast, which is crazy.
New skills every day.
Who gave me a microphone? Pry it from my dead fingers. But no, I mean, look, it's so fantastic to sort of sit back and reflect and go, wow, someone's nominated me, or, I'm going to put myself forward because why not? Shy Barn's getting out. And sort of like sit back and celebrate yourself and those achievements. Because, if you not celebrate yourself, like it's a tall ask for others to do so too. So, to back yourself for that. And I think also the network that you've created, you've got the WhatsApp groups. It's not just the awards, it's afterwards. Like there's other opportunities, there's the networks, there's the road shows that happen. And you meet so many amazing like-minded individuals, especially in the North as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, just go for it.
And how important has been Northern to you?
Oh God, it's my whole identity. It is my whole identity. I'm so passionate about the North in particular. I could get on my high horse and talk about
get on
how
it.
fantastic. Sometimes I get drunk at parties and talk about all the things that Manchester's invented, and it's a long list. And I'm like, did you know we invented the railways and and they're like, God, Hannah, shut up. So no, it's such a big thing, and particularly in my world as well, where we're being seen as like a tech hub outside of London, and all the great initiatives that are happening. It's just amazing. Like I love being from Manchester.
What's your favourite Northern fact? You just said invented railways. There we go.
Invented railways.
You didn't invent delays though, did you? Let's not.
No, I'm not taking ownership of that one. I mean, the first computer, Alan Turing, and I think there's another one, Baby, as well, which was the first computer storage that was invented in Manchester as well. So yeah, we've got a big tech history, and it's just great to celebrate that and see different initiatives that are coming up. GCHQ have got offices in Manchester now, and they have loads of cyber programs as well. So yeah, I think that's one of.
It's a proper pride, isn't it? I think I know when we first set up Northern Power, we did a survey out there, and the two things that really jumped out was that proud of being Northern and proud of being able to drive their careers in the North. 100%. Because I think the start of when I created this, there was still a lot of people, having to run to London, having to run overseas, having to develop their career. It's not like that anymore, isn't it? There's great. What are you most optimistic about the future of the North from?
I think it's exactly that. At the start of my career, it was very much like, if you want to do this, you've got to go down to London. And I've spent my time down in London, and it's great that you can sort of replicate those networks and replicate those opportunities in the North. And, I just really want to see more of it, even just at a basic level, connected infrastructure that doesn't take an absolute time and arm and a leg to get to different northern cities. But seeing more businesses move up north, the BBC moving up, that was a huge thing.
It's massive, wasn't it?
Brands coming up to the north attracts the right talent. Our universities are spitting out loads of really talented graduates, and it's how do we harness that in the workplace, in fields like cyber, which is famously underrepresented. We're crying out for resources in that field. So I just want to see more of that and more diverse individuals moving into my industry and sort of pushing them forward. So yeah.
It's exciting, isn't it? I think it's exciting times. I know there's challenging times out there, which we've talked about, but I think the exciting hub that the North can create and the fact of, you talked about the BBC moving up here. Gosh, must be nearly a decade now.
I know.
And there was the assumption that people were just going to commute. What's your favourite day out What's your favourite day out in there?
In Manchester.
It's going to be a bar, isn't it? I know it's going to be a bar.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be multiple bars. I don't know how to narrow it down. Favourite day out? I mean, I am actually a bit of a fitness girl, so I enjoy a little Barry's Bootcamp, then like probably a brunch at like Caravan or somewhere in Spinning Fields. I always enjoy like the lawn club and all the hen do's that are like dancing on the tables at 1 p.m. and I'm like, yes, I love this energy. But yeah, I probably head up more towards the northern quarter and like Mackie Mayer's gorgeous and yeah, like love it around there.
It is. It's just amazing. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to following your adventures. Let's push to get more amazing talent into the world of cyber. Let us hear about your improving football skills as well. And I think go back, get back into Gogglebox. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. And
No
thank
worries.
you so much for being one of our fantastic feature listeners.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. We are power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter. Or we are power on LinkedIn, Facebook. And we are _power on YouTube.